This dude, Blaiden, had to be like, well, the only reason they got out of it, he's mad because he predicted the Saints to go winless. And he didn't see Drew Brees taking a pay cut coming. And I couldn't even like talk.
Oh,
look,
what was your
I was right.
No, you weren't.
If Drew Brees had not taken that pay cut, they could not have gotten out without getting rid of one of either Alvin Kamara or Michael Thomas.
Well, then obviously they knew Drew Brees was going to take that pay cut.
How could I have known that, though? There's no way I could have known that.
Because they're not going to like fold as a franchise. Like they're
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by the two greatest co-hosts of all time in Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash. It's a great Thursday. How are you guys doing? Well, it's Thursday for us. When we release it, it'll be Friday.
How are you doing? You always ask us. How's your day been?
It's always how's Matt and Theo, never how's Blaiden. I'm mostly good. I'm tired. I was half awake during my 8:30 class this morning, but other than that,
brutal.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
It's really tough. I was really hoping to avoid them as a junior in college, but nope.
I've got one because I'm always the last person to go sign up for classes. Like I'm always late to get to my advisor.
I don't have a hard time believing that.
No, I'm always the last. I clean up the scraps.
Matt, you don't have a hard time believing that Theo's always late?
Nope.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like to think of myself as kind of the unhinged member, like not buttoned up member
unhinged,
of the three.
Aloof.
Not so much aloof as just.
I was going to say aloof. I think aloof is very accurate.
Okay, well, I guess, but yeah, I'm working off not much
it's
sleep.
It's okay, Theo.
But these two are more tired than me, and I got way less sleep. So
it is what it is. As always, make sure you guys subscribe, leave a review on Apple, comment on YouTube. We're on Apple, Spotify, the whole work. So it's just keep helping us grow this podcast on all platforms. It's been a great ride so far. Let's keep it going. And if you haven't, make sure you follow @StayHotPod on TikTok for some great content there as well. I don't know why I got so the little soft voice when I was talking about the commenting and stuff.
When you go that long, when you try to have a monologue like that, it's tough.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, but I'm just I felt weird. I was felt like I was trying to do ASMR, ASMR promo of doing reviews and stuff.
I really think that I had a good fantasy draft, and I think that.
What are we getting into today, Blade?
Yeah, we're going to get into some NFL news. We're going to talk about our fantasy teams, of course. For those of you that don't know, we did a live fantasy draft for the Stay Out Fantasy League. It was a lot of fun. I think, I was a little worried that most people weren't going to show up, but it was actually a pretty cool event. And obviously the chat was super engaged. And then we're getting, with NFL news, we have to talk about Cam Newton. So we'll let Matt have a little bit of a go at that. And then we're going to go into kind of an NFL hot take mailbag. We asked you guys to give a 60-second hot take. Just pitch, defend it real quick, and then we'll let you know where we stand with it. And then we'll give a couple spicy takes of our own to round out the episode. But guys, let's talk about our fantasy teams real quick. Are you happy with your teams? You've had a day to decompress, to look it over. How are you feeling?
My team is so average. We're so all right. Dak Prescott, that's a pretty good quarterback. Logan Thomas, it's a pretty good tight end. James Robinson and why can't I think of his name? Carson. I mean, that's pretty good at running back. I'm fine everywhere. I think I'll be a borderline playoff team. That's where I think I stand.
I'm regretting the Josh Jacobs pick in the second round a little bit. That's kind of where I think I could have done a better job with maybe someone like Chris Carson, and I feel like that could hurt me a little bit. But outside of those picks, and this morning I accepted a trade. Jacoby Myers was my guy. I traded him for Michael Pittman and Darnell Mooney, who I think Pittman was above. I think Pittman straight up got drafted above Myers, and I had him higher on my list. So that's an instant upgrade right away. I think that I'm in the same boat as Matt, where I look at it and I'm like, this is not as strong as it absolutely could have been. But It's shaping up. I think, and again, it'll all depend on Michael Thomas. That's kind of the make or break for me. Is
yeah, it really is. That pick is definitely gonna come back to bite you, or either that, or it'll work out really well.
Right.
I like. Yeah. I don't know. I like my team a lot. I went receiver back to back to back. Went Diggs, AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, and then got Gaskin in the 4th. So like I was really happy with that. The only thing that didn't quite go my way is I was hoping Brady fell to me at quarterback. I ended up getting Stafford, which I'm not mad at. Stafford's still, probably going to be a good quarterback for me.
Yeah,
in
he's in position to put up a ton of yards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the Rams are going to want to throw a lot with him. And then the only other thing, I wanted Gesicki. Theo knew I wanted Gesicki. But I guess it's fair. I took the Denver defense, so it kind of washes there.
Yeah, I would agree. Gesicki is projected way too low, in my opinion. Gesicki is a guy, I think Tua is, like I said, I think Tua is going to be kind of a tight end type of quarterback where that's going to be a safe option for him to kind of throw it down to.
I mean, he liked Gesicki last year.
Yeah, I mean, Gesicki had tons of yards and points and finished as a...
We're pronouncing it differently. Matt,
yeah, I think it's Gesicki.
Is it Gesicki or Gesicki?
Dude, I don't know.
Matt, you're the tiebreaker here. Like, you have to decide.
I'm gonna say Gesicki, but I could be wrong.
I hate you.
I have no clue.
I can tell you it's Gesicki.
All right, I'll take your word for it. But let's hop into some NFL news.
Some NFL news. There's only one thing we're talking about. Sucks ass, dude. And Cam Newton getting cut sucks, not because it's like I can deal with, things not working out my way in the NFL, but it just justifies so many dumb people who dislike Cam Newton for dumb reasons. You know what I mean? And there's always going to be, well, he's just not a serious quarterback. That's why he got cut. That's not why he got cut. No. Or it's like, he just doesn't fit the Patriots way. What does that mean? I hate bullshit like that.
What do you mean by that?
I think that I think Mac Jones ended up winning the starting position because he was really good, and Cam Newton missed time because he wasn't vaccinated, which he 100% deserves blame for. Yeah. And then I think Belichick either released him because he wanted to give Cam Newton a chance to go to another team that was going to be able to start him, or because he really didn't want an unvaccinated player on his team. Either way, I don't think it has to do with...
He said that it didn't play any part in it, but I think that's BS because Urban Meyer said vaccination status does play a part in it, and the NFL said, we are opening investigation on you for saying that. So, like, obviously they asked Belichick. He's going to say, no, that played no part in it, and everyone's like, yeah, dude, that played no part in it. Belichick said so. Like, yeah, because also Urban Meyer got rocked, for being honest, which is also a problem, I think. Like, we incentivize lying a lot of times, where it's like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure Brian Hoyer's unvaccinated too. I think the problem...
He also got released, I think.
Oh, did he?
It's just Mac
and see, this is what makes me feel like they care about that stuff, because now Stidham, who I believe is hurt, is the backup. I think they've just got one quarterback on the roster, if I'm not dumb.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird spot. The only thing that I can think of that for why they would cut Cam, is... maybe the unvaccinated thing, but I think it's more of like last year there was an issue with COVID because of him, and then he missed time this year, and it's I don't think that's something that happened last year is what made them cut him. Because I'm just saying, it's like the fact that it happened twice and he's still not getting vaccinated. And
so you think it's the vaccination?
Yeah,
thing?
but like it's just like if because he would probably start week 1. Right, that's my thinking.
Lost the quarterback battle.
I think there's.
Do you think? Okay,
things.
I mean, maybe
2 things. I think A, he lost the quarterback battle. I think that's true. B, it's just more hoops to jump through when you're unvaccinated in the NFL right now. More hoops to jump through. You got to test all these times.
Quarterback.
You've got to travel. Like, there's travel restrictions. It's just more to deal with. Coaches, especially Bill Belichick, does not want to deal with that, in my opinion. That's why Urban Meyer came out and he said it, and he said it absolutely played a part, and the NFL got mad at him for saying it, but it's true. He said what people were thinking. It does play a part. Now, where does Cam go? My bet would be Dallas. That's kind of the that
doesn't make any sense.
Speculated there. I mean, if you watch Dallas preseason games, you would know that they are screwed if Dak gets hurt. Last year they got screwed if Dak got hurt. I saw like some rumor that Jerry Jones would be open to it. If I had to put money down, I would say Dallas, but
I think somewhere will eventually open up. That'd be my guess. Washington makes a lot of sense if things start not working out there.
Carolina makes a lot of
sense. Carolina makes absolutely zero sense for him to go there. They screwed him over to get Teddy Bridgewater. They totally burned that bridge. And now as a Panthers fan, I'm going to have to watch Sam Darnold be my starting quarterback while Cam Newton is a free agent. It makes no sense to me. The problem with Washington is that they probably have three guys I really like. Ron really likes Kyle Allen. He really likes Heineke. And they obviously just got Fitzpatrick. So I don't know if there's a spot there for him. Dallas does make sense. And then maybe if there's an injury and there isn't a good backup, like Pittsburgh seems like a spot where you're like, Big Ben is older. Maybe he gets hurt and then they're going to turn to Haskins or Mason Rudolph.
Hey, maybe they like Haskins. They said he's like matured a lot.
But if this is it for Cam Newton's career, and I do not think that is unreasonable.
I don't either.
It's frustrating that people will think that he only had one good year or that he held the Panthers back when the Panthers held him back for a very long time. There were seasons where we would go 11-5. We'd have a good offense. And I remember that our receiving core would be like Devin Funches and guys who couldn't make other teams at all.
The year you went to the Super Bowl, your best receiver was Ted Ginn.
We had Ted Ginn as our number one receiver. Ted Ginn, Kelvin Benjamin, Devin Funches, 4 years of wide receiver number ones right there. None of those guys are even wide receiver twos on those teams.
Yeah, they're getting cut on most teams. I would say, look, Cam is one of the more, probably will go down as one of the more underrated guys in his prime. I've said it before that I would take prime Cam over prime Russell Wilson. I would. Pretty obvious that Cam has an MVP and Russell Wilson doesn't. So like just from that quality of season alone, it shouldn't be as much of a hot take as it is. I think one of the most amazing Cam Newton stats is looking at their offense the year before he got there and where it ranked as a rookie. It was dead last, bottom of the barrel, 32 out of 32 in every category. And then he got there as a rookie and it shot up to top 5. That is not happening. It's like, imagine if Trevor Lawrence made the Jaguars a top 5 offense. Imagine if Zach Wilson made the Jets a top. Like if they were average, you'd be like, oh my God, what a rookie season.
Like, you remember how people acted when Baker got to the Browns? Like that kind of a switch. Cam did that on like another plane of existence.
Yeah, Cam actually.
Herbert had like a top 10, like the Chargers offense was like top 10. And people were like, this could be the greatest rookie season ever. Cam elevated it, and it wasn't dead last before. It went from dead last to top 5. Like Cam was just so dangerous, and deadly and valuable. And I mean,
what it ended up coming down to, career-wise for Cam Newton, is that he's never been a player who's had a lot of help. His whole career, he's never had a lot of help. He didn't at Auburn, didn't with Carolina, he didn't last year with New England. But Steve Smith, after Steve Smith left, he never got a receiver better than that. Mm-hmm. After Jordan Gross left, he never got a tackle better than that. Their offensive line was bad from then on out. So the Panthers were just really disappointing in the way that they put talent around him for a very long time. The offenses that they ran him in were just completely reliant on him being better than everyone else. And him having successful seasons only happened because he was that good.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
And same with Auburn, man. Like there was no one, like no NFL players around. You look at like Joe Burrow.
Cam had no business winning with that Auburn team. No business.
What Joe Burrow had, like NFL players across the board, and then you look what Cam had, and the fact that they got the same result. And then, like, I know the dialogue would have been like, "Is Joe Burrow the best college quarterback ever?" No, it's Cam. Straight up.
I feel very strongly 2010 Cam Newton is the best any college player has ever been.
You could be damn well right.
No,
anyway,
you're pretty spot on.
Cam, I want to give him his flowers if this is it, because he deserved better in almost every aspect, whether that be on the field, off the field. You know, he deserved better. If
you ask me, Cam Newton is the most valuable player the Panthers have ever had.
I know we're supposed to move on to talking about Mac Jones. The other frustrating thing is that stupid fumble play in Super Bowl 50, where he obviously was just readjusting to get the ball. He wasn't trying to protect himself.
It put him in a better position. I just watched that play because I was doing a Von Miller video and I wanted to find an example of his get off, and that's the play that I watched, and it was the fumble. He literally put himself in a better, and it was insane to listen to Jim Nantz and Phil Simms in that moment say, look at him not dive on the instantly they were like, look at him jump away from the pile. Like he just kind of readjusted his body and then jumped in the pile. And just the way that narrative started to hear him talk about that.
Well, and what sucks about it is that it started the narrative that Cam Newton wasn't willing to put like his health on the line for his team. Literally could not be less true.
Have you seen this dude does front flips into the end zone?
This guy took,
I think about that Broncos
more hits than probably any other quarterback in that time span. And there was a time where 2014, if you don't know this story, Cam Newton flips his team's terrible. We're 3-8-1. Cam Newton flips his truck 4 times, fractures his back. Out one game, Derek Anderson gets the win against the worst team in the league, Tampa Bay, that year. Cam Newton comes back in 12 days later. We go undefeated for the rest of the season and get in the playoffs.
Yeah,
if you've watched Panthers games while Cam Newton has played, there are countless times where he has gotten headhunted, crushed, goes out for a couple of plays. You're like, is that a season-ending injury? Is he done? Comes back in just fine. So it's just disappointing that narrative started off one wonky play that didn't even matter. If he recovered it, they weren't winning.
Right. Yeah. No. Cam was. Yeah. Cam. Yeah. Cam.
We've said all that there's good, and we've said all that there's been
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones came off a really impressive preseason. I can't lie.
He looks good.
He looked sharp. I still think like if it is a rookie season, we're looking at an Andy Dalton tier quarterback. I do. I remember Daniel Jones's preseason a couple years ago, just lit it up, shut everyone up after he got hated on after that draft pick. Everyone hated on that pick. He came up in preseason and shut everyone up. And then he sucked. It's so like I can't stray too far.
The preseason does not matter, and it really doesn't. Like to an extent, like you get to see like what guys are capable of, but like what's the guy Kurt Benkert for Green Bay was lighting it up.
Right.
Does that mean Josh Rosen was lighting it up in the fourth quarter against the Browns? Who cares?
Right. I would say Mac Jones, if you're a Patriots fan, you should be encouraged by what you saw by Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't like what you saw and that wasn't encouraging. But for me, I'm not deviating from my original draft take because of something in the preseason. My original draft take is that I think that Mac Jones is a solid player. Maybe could be Kirk Cousins tier, maybe something like that. But as a rookie, I'm seeing something more along the Andy Dalton lines as a rookie.
Andy Dalton, that's not even now, or Andy, or a little bit more.
Like maybe
are we talking prime Dalton here?
Maybe prime Dalton.
Prime Andy Dalton.
That wouldn't be a bad rookie year. But I'm switching my playoff pick. Before it was when I originally did my predictions, I had the Dolphins just missing and the Patriots in it. Since then, the Dolphins have been able to hang on to Xavier Howard, and the Patriots have gone forward with Mac Jones, and Stephon Gilmore is out for 6-7 weeks. So I'm flipping that. I think
I'm really nervous about their corners. That's because Jalen Mills, from what I've heard and seen a little bit, not great so far.
So I'm saying that the Patriots end up missing the playoffs now. I think that, and I don't know if it's not all Cam and Mac. There's some other factors at play here. I think the Dolphins beat them out and they make a wild card spot.
Yeah, the only thing I really have to switch is I'm going to have the Dolphins beating the Patriots week 1. That's really all that I think is going to change, especially because I'm pretty sure Gilmore's out too.
Yeah,
for the Patriots, so that's going to play a big role. I don't know. Dolphins will probably go 9-8. I think that's reasonable. 9-8. Patriots go 8-9, and then it'll come down to like Dolphins Chargers for that 7 seed. That's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah, that's valid.
I don't know. Mac. I'm not going to talk about Mac Jones right now. I'm just going to let. I'm
maybe a little bit too long.
I'm just going to let it happen.
Quarterback.
I'm just going to let it happen.
4, I think, behind Fields and Lance and Lawrence. I don't feel any differently about that now. I still think all those guys have the tools to be better than him. But maybe Mac Jones ends up being a very solid quarterback and finishing above one of those guys who doesn't pan out.
I think I had Mac Jones at like quarterback 8, something like that.
You did give him a day. You called him a day 3 pick.
I said he was a day 3 prospect.
Yeah,
maybe 4th round. something like that. But
I had him at around like 40 on my big board. So like second round talent, but since he's a quarterback, kind of a late first round type of pick. So yeah. Anyway,
not for me. But let's hop in to our hot take listener mailbag. All right, so our first one is going to be a voicemail. We have 5 voicemails and 3 emails to get through. And the emails are novels, but let's hop into the first voicemail.
Hello, my name is Scott Crisp. I'm from Noblesville, Indiana. And here's my hot take. I think the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. I think they are going to actually surprise a lot of people. I also feel like Sam Darnold is a lot better than what people think. Because if you look at his coach in New York, it was Adam Gase. Same thing happened with Ryan Tannehill. He went to Tennessee, did a lot better, is doing a hell of a lot better in Tennessee. I think Carolina has the offensive weapons. I think they have a young defense. I'm not really sure on their schedule, but the division isn't that good either. Okay, you got the Bucs, obviously. But after that, it's up for grabs. And I feel like they could squeeze in the playoffs, maybe 6th, 7th seed. It's mostly because of Sam Darnold. I feel like he is going to really surprise a lot of people this year. And yeah, that's my hot take.
Matt, you're the Panthers fan.
I disagree. For a couple of reasons. I remember when Sam Darnold was at USC, a lot of people excused some of his problems because USC's offensive line was really bad. And then he goes and he has Adam Gase as his head coach, and he plays for the Jets, and his offensive line's really bad. And I was like, well, he's playing for the Jets. And I'll ignore even the fact that spending your first 3 years with a quarterback coach who doesn't help you much builds bad habits. Ignoring that, people gave him an excuse for that, right? And now he's coming to Carolina, and his offensive line still is not good. It's still bad. He's got better weapons now. I'll give him that, but I don't know. I kind of think that the Panthers supporting cast is good, but the offensive line's really, really rough, and that's going to be a big problem for Sam Darnold. I like Joe Brady. I don't think he fix all of his bad habits in one off season, and I don't think the Ryan Tannehill situation is comparable because Ryan Tannehill was a lot better for Miami than Sam Darnold was for the Jets. I mean, a lot better. Ryan Tannehill Gase made the playoffs.
Ryan Tannehill in 2014 was a legitimately good quarterback.
Yeah, he was legit good. Darnold hasn't been good yet. I've been hearing people tell me it's like, oh, well, I think if everything goes right, he'll be a top 25 quarterback. Do you that's such ridiculously low standard. Maybe if things go right, he'll be top 25. So I don't trust him. I really don't. I understand why we made the move. I think he gives us more potential to make big plays than Bridgewater did. But I don't know. I just don't trust it. I like the defense. I think the defense is a year away from being really, really strong. And maybe they're really strong this year. And we do have good weapons. We do have a good offensive coordinator. But I can't trust a team with a bad offensive line and a bad quarterback. There's just not many teams that are going to succeed with that combination.
And potentially a rough secondary, I think. Even with J.C. Horn, rookie corners just don't typically step in and are locked down right away. And then if he's not, you look at the corners. Look, I watched Sam Darnold. I watched a good amount of Sam Darnold film, and I watched his worst statistical game, I think, against, I want to say, the Bills. And his left guard was just selling, and there were drops, and there were tips, and there was miscommunication. And it was so bad. And I watched stuff like that. I'm like, well, maybe he is just the product of a bad, maybe there's no one who could succeed. And I do agree. He was drafted at age 20. He was one of the youngest quarterbacks ever starting in a game. He was thrown into a horrible culture, I think, with Adam Gase, a horrible play caller in Adam Gase. He was thrown into Quincy Enunwa, and I guess there was Robbie Anderson, but it was all bad there. And it's could any 20-year-old have stepped in and succeeded there? I lean almost no. If Mahomes came out of college a year earlier and just had to get thrown right into the situation Darnold was in New York, would Mahomes be Mahomes?
Probably
I don't think he would be at all. I don't think he would be at all. That being said, that's where it comes. There's just been nothing. There's no stretch of games that's been good. There's no, although he did have a winning record.
He has like a sprinkle of good plays.
It's he's been consistently at the bottom.
He can hit
everywhere,
big
and
plays. He'll take the big risk, but he does not consistently hit his layups and get easy stuff. He was outplayed by Joe Flacco last year,
right?
And that's in year 3. Teams don't give up on first-round quarterbacks after 3 years unless they're bad.
Right.
They're never going to give up on.
And they're just at the bottom of every. So he can be like make big improvements and still be bad. So that's the thing with him, is where I think he will have a career year this year, but the bar is so damn low that a career year for Sam Darnold is not good quarterback play. And that's kind of where I'm at with Sam Darnold.
That's exactly where I'm at. It's like, obvious, like everything is in line for him to be better, but I still don't know if that ends up equaling a good quarterback. Maybe he's better than Bridgewater. Maybe it's an upgrade there, but I don't know. I think the Panthers are maybe still a year away.
I think
also, I don't know if their schedule's quite easy enough to pull this off. I mean, you do play the Buccaneers twice. You play the Cardinals. You play Washington. You play Miami. You play the Bills. You play the Vikings. I mean, there are some tough games in there. Now, given you also play the Jets and the Texans, so you have some freebies in there. But no, I don't think the Panthers make the playoffs this year. So let's move on to the second voicemail.
This is Carson Jennis from Cherokee, Iowa calling, and I'm a big fan of the podcast. And my hot take is that this Denver Broncos squad has the capability to do what they did back in 2015 by winning the Super Bowl. With the elite defense, the good receivers, and the sketchy quarterback position. Because Peyton Manning wasn't playing his best back in 2015, but the defense was the story of that year.
I agree.
Yeah, I say this is all you, Theo.
If you look at, they're just so. There's Bryce Callahan trade rumors right now. A Super Bowl is that would be crazy, but it's hot take segment. It's not like, well, I think they might lose in the first round. Like, that's obvious. As far as hot takes go, I do think that's, I've been on this for a long time. Again, Judy, Sutton, Fant, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, Javonte Williams, the offensive skill position players are stacked. Garrett Bowles is a good tackle. Their offensive line is probably average on the whole. Bridgewater will keep that team above water. And then, I just made a video about Von Miller. I loved watching him and Chubb get off the line when they snapped. I don't know if any of you guys watched that video from me, but the team snaps the ball and they're like moving with the snap of the ball. Like before the tackles even start to move, they know the snap count before them. Like those two are just a terror off the edge. I've said it a million times, but the secondary, in my opinion, is the best in the league, and the linebackers are good, and the defensive tackles are good. And the schedule is easy. I think they're ballers. I don't think that this is as far as crazy takes go, this is on the more mundane side, or one that I'd be willing to side with.
I have the Broncos going 10-7, and that would make them a 6th seed. It's not unreasonable for them to make the playoffs. Winning a Super Bowl in the AFC, you got to get through the Bills, you got to get through the Browns, you got to get through the Ravens, you got to get through the Chiefs. You have a lot.
Bills are
in theory,
these teams, if you want to pull off an upset as a good defensive team who can't score very much, you want to go up against teams whose offensive line is not very strong.
Yeah,
that's the key. That's how the
Browns and Chiefs both have awesome offensive lines this year.
Yeah. So it's all about getting pressure. They kind of need the matchups to go their way, but it's a fun take. Like for a hot take. Yeah. I definitely the logic there. It's not totally unreasonable, but it's unlikely because it's a hot take. Obviously, no one has Denver as a Super Bowl favorite. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's unreasonable.
Yeah, not crazy. So now we're going to hop into an email, and I'm warning you guys, these are novels. So bear with me. He says, "Hey guys, I'm Nick from Toledo, Ohio. OH. I love the podcast. It's my favorite sports pod to listen to. We appreciate it. You guys are hilarious. My hot take, the LA Chargers are going to have a very subpar year. The hype for this team really came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I feel like their defense is going to be mediocre at best. Besides Boza and a healthy Derwin James, who do they have that is even above average? Maybe Chris Harris. The offense didn't improve much in my eyes. Downgrade from Hunter Henry to Jared Cook. They buffed their O-line a bit, which is good, but I feel like the wide receivers are a big question mark. Obviously, Allen is a beast, but I'm not so confident with Mike Williams as the second best wide receiver on that team. Feels like it's Allen and the rest are nobodies. I have no complaints on their backfield. Eckler's a beast. Kelly and Jackson are decent backups. Last guy for me, Justin Herbert. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the guy. I hope he succeeds and proves me wrong, but everyone's eyes are on him. I keep hearing MVP talk for him, and I feel like he is going to fold under the pressure and not have the year he is capable of having. Talent-wise, I think he's amazing, but I feel like it's all going to come down to the mental game for Herbert. P.S. Thank you guys for doing this podcast. It has brought me constant hours of laughter and smiles. Sincerely, Nick.
Let's go. And he's playing the hits. We're playing the hits on the podcast. I obviously agree. This is something I've gone at length about and received a lot of flack about. It's mostly the defense more than the offense. Like if Keenan Allen gets hurt, that would be very bad. That'd be very, very bad because the reliability dries up. But that's a big if. Like if anyone gets hurt. But I think saying if Derwin James gets hurt is a much bigger if because he's always hurt. Joey Bosa has had his
Joey Bosa is super injury prone too. That's just an injury prone team. And I agree that their depth is not super amazing. And you don't want to be like, that team's going to be bad because they're going to get injured. Like that's such a lame way to predict it. But the Chargers have been injured like so many years where it's like, okay.
And this isn't even like a Derwin James, Joey Bosa thing.
Last year punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung. And so I have some questions about their medical staff and their guys are hurt all the time. So like maybe.
No, this is just like a Chargers thing. They always do this where they underperform everyone's expectations.
I was a guy who thought they were going to be good at the start of the offseason. I've kind of come around back the other way on that. There's a lot of position groups where you're like, that is one injury away from being very bad. And the Chargers get injured a lot.
Right. Yeah. They're cursed. And here's the thing. I like I like their coach. I think that Staley did a lot of good things for the Rams defense and I like his scheme a lot. But here's the thing. This Chargers defense last year and this year is pretty much could not be more different. So you've kind of got like some round holes trying to fit in square pigs. And it's like, you're going to have Jerry Tillery 2-gapping and that's going to like just be a mess because he can't do it. And like, you're going to have, dime. They love to run dime. So that's a lot of corners on the field. So you want a really deep cornerback group like the Rams had last year. And they don't have that. Yeah. Like they don't have.
And you need Derwin James to be healthy. Right. You can't run these like deep secondary packages and not have maybe the best safety in the NFL when healthy.
So yes, I agree with this take. Maybe the offense just absolutely lights it up and Herbert takes a jump into an MVP candidate and it doesn't matter how bad the defense is. I mean, I've seen really good offenses carry bad defenses. As a Packer fan, I see that every year. So it's definitely possible that this is wrong. I'm just not quite forecasting that seismic jump from Herbert quite yet.
Yeah, Herbert is talent-wise capable of making that kind of a jump. But again, he was playing very volatile football last year. There were a lot of throws that were kind of 50-50, and I don't know if he gets away with a lot of those this year. I think, Nick kind of hits it right on when he says it is going to be a bit of a mental game. He has to learn to kind of take what the defense gives him sometimes, and I don't know if he'll be able to do that.
Well, you mentioned them as a possible playoff team earlier.
I said, 9-8.
Okay.
I mean, that's not unreasonable.
All right.
I'm not saying they're...
I had him at 6-11. That was my big hot take.
Oh, okay.
That's probably one of my hotter record predictions. But yeah,
I think I thought 9-8 was like underperformed because I think Chargers fans think they're like better than Denver by like a wide margin. I don't think that's necessarily true.
So we kind of disagree though. Yeah. But I
kind of disagree, but kind of it's kind of like Donda. Like we agree, but we disagree.
But I would say that I disagree with this. Blaiden, I guess you kind of think they're a little bit overhyped, but still have them in the playoffs. Overall,
it'll come down to them in Miami, I think, for that 7th seed. But currently, I have them as the 8. The Chargers, I currently have as the 8.
Okay.
So hopping into the second email, Alex from Chicago. My hot take is that Sean Payton is one of the most overrated and overadored coaches in recent sports history, and that his career in New Orleans is not much different than Mike McCarthy's in Green Bay, which got him fired. Both only went to one Super Bowl, and despite having first ballot Hall of Fame level quarterbacks, both have struggled to support them with a consistently good defense. It's good now, but the Saints defense in the early 2010s was terrible. And a running game, same as defense. Payton gets bonus points for messing around with Taysom Hill, so he's looked at favorably. But he doesn't really deserve all the love he gets. Really, I think if the Saints don't reach the playoffs for a couple years, he's going to be out of the job. Thanks, guys. Hope you can shine a light on the fraudulent Sean Payton for me.
I'm not maybe that big of a Sean Payton hater, but you're spitting about the Taysom Hill crap. I'm so sick of it, dude. Is he going to be our starting quarterback? I hope not, dude. Like, that stuff is I'm annoyed by the Saints in general. I think their general manager getting so much credit for like getting $100 million in debt, but then I'm cutting all of our depth and look, we're not in it anymore. I don't think that's cool. I don't think.
First of all, it wasn't.
Matt,
he didn't even
very insensitive.
First of all, we need to say Matt's a Panthers fan, so he's a little bit biased. However, their GM isn't even the reason they got out of that cap hell. Drew Brees took like a $20 million or $25 million pay cut. It's like the biggest pay cut in like NFL history. it's like I don't know what. No, yeah, I don't know if I would say Sean Payton's a complete fraud.
Sean Payton oversaw Bountygate, which was screwed up of him, and he also made a quarterback competition between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston and pretended that was a thing, which was dumb of him. So I think there's plenty of reasons to not like Sean Payton. Would I call him a fraud? Like, considering they have top 5 like offenses like every single year, and his record without Drew Brees and the leap that Drew Brees took from, San Diego to like he was in San Diego and then went to New Orleans and had this big jump. I wouldn't call Sean Payton a fraudulent guy. I think he'll probably end up in the Hall of Fame as a coach. So, and I think that's somewhat well-deserved. There's not a lot of coaches with more wins and results and consistently good offenses. Yes, the defenses are bad, and that might be problems with who he hires as defensive coordinator, but they're good now. Like, they have a good defense now. So I would disagree with this, although I do think that there's reasons to think that he's kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. There's reasons to dislike Sean Payton, but I don't think you can really argue with a lot of the results that he's had. So yeah, I think we're kind of on the same boat here. Moving on to voicemail number 3.
I would actually like to bring up one more thing. I was making a whole goddamn point. No. And this dude Blaiden had to be like, well, the only reason they got out of it, he's mad because he predicted the Saints to go winless. And he didn't see Drew Brees taking a pay cut coming. And I couldn't even like talk. Look,
what was your
I was right.
Winless.
I was right.
What did you think? No, you weren't.
I was right.
No, you weren't.
If Drew Brees had not taken that pay cut, they could not have done it. They could not have gotten out without getting rid of one of either Alvin Kamara or Michael Thomas.
Well, then obviously they knew Drew Brees was going to take that pay cut.
How could I have known that, though? There's no way I could have known that.
Because they're not going to like fold as a franchise. Like, they're $100 million in debt. This gets us into the cap space isn't real debate, which is, it absolutely is real. Cap space is absolutely real, and GMs spend a lot of time.
Yes, it is, dude.
Yes, it is real.
It's so
That's what
real.
I'm saying. The myth that cap space is a myth, right? Yeah. Like, GMs spend a lot of time doing weird things, like to get the cap space under control, and then people see that and be like, "Oh, you can just get around it." It's like, if it wasn't real, why do they have to do all this crazy stuff? Like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, the Saints got bailed out by Drew Brees. That's what happened.
Again.
Again.
Look, I don't think Sean Payton's a bad coach, but there's definitely some stuff that he does that annoys me. That's all it comes down to. And I agree, cap space is 100% real.
All right. Let's hop into the next voicemail.
Yo, this is Jordan from Florida, and I just want to say that the Patriots will finish as the second best team in the AFC. Bill Belichick's going to put it all together. I think he built the perfect roster in the offseason, and Mac Jones is going to have the best rookie season out of any of the quarterbacks. Book it.
He said, book it. I don't know. I don't know. Second best team in the AFC. I mean, I guess it's a hot take, but the AFC
you think
is
the cornerbacks are perfect on that team, or the wide receivers?
I mean, Gilmore's not. How long is Gilmore out?
6-7
at
weeks.
least 6 weeks.
Yeah. See, that's a lot. First of all, the Bills are definitely winning that division. They're crazy good on offense, except for I guess their O-line's a little spotty. I do like their secondary a lot. They upgraded their defensive front a little bit. The Chiefs are probably the 1 seed in the AFC by a pretty wide margin. I think the Browns are going to be better than the Patriots this year. I would say the Browns arguably had just as good of an offseason as the Patriots, and the Browns were better than the Patriots last year. I don't know. It's like I don't know.
We talked about this already. We talked.
Yeah, it's like I do not see a scenario in which the Patriots are better than, all but one of the Chiefs, Bills, and Browns, and maybe even the Ravens.
I think this offseason could go down as a pretty bad one for Bill Belichick, honestly. I think that they spent all this money on Nelson Aguilar, and they spent all this money on Kendrick Bourne and Jalen or Mills, and they kind of went in win now mode, and the playoffs are not they're a question mark right now. They're a question mark right now. So it's like if they miss on this year, this is kind of a disaster offseason.
I think they're going to make the playoffs. I do.
They
Okay.
can.
Did they get considerably better from last year? No doubt. They won 7 games last year. They weren't that far off. The Patriots do. Bill Belichick is still a great coach. I think their defense. I really think the secondary not being great is gonna hurt them to start the year. And you're asking Gilmore to come in and he needs to be cornerback 1 or they're in trouble. But I don't think they're going to be that awful. I don't think
they're missing Gilmore. They're missing Gilmore for Miami, the Jets, the Saints, the Buccaneers, the Texans, and the Cowboys.
That's not too bad, honestly.
That's honestly. Yeah, it's like Cowboys. You're maybe holding your breath, and the Buccaneers.
They got not the toughest schedule in the world. They play some tough teams. I don't think it's too bad. I could see them winning 8, 9, 10 games. Maybe even a little bit better than that, but I don't think they're going to be better than the Bills or the Chiefs or the Ravens.
Yeah.
That's really their biggest issues. There's just too many teams that are just obviously better. But let's hop into the next voicemail. Voicemail number 4.
What's up, guys? This is Jack from Connecticut, and my hot take is, I know Matt's going to agree with this one as a Panthers fan, but I think DJ Moore is better than Mike Evans. I think he's a better route runner, better after the catch. I know Evans probably has better hands. I also think he drops more passes, so that's even debatable. And DJ Moore is just more consistent. He's put up better yards numbers for a long, since he's in the league in the past couple of years versus Mike Evans. And, Mike Evans just plays in that pass-heavy offense, and the Panthers, don't have nearly as good of a quarterback, and DJ Moore's still putting up those numbers. So I think Mike Evans is vastly overrated. I think they're close. I have them both in the 12 to 18 range, but I do think DJ Moore is better. I want to hear you guys' take on that. Thanks.
Mike Evans gets a lot of credit for having all 1,000-yard receiving seasons since he's been in the league, but that's just an arbitrary number. I think so. I think it is arbitrary. Is there a significant difference between having 999 receiving yards and 1,000?
And if he had 999 receiving yards every single one of his
seasons, looks cool.
That would be pretty good too.
But if
maybe
he had
looks a little bit cooler than it actually is, but that doesn't mean that it's worthless.
It's not worthless, but people act like he's, one of the best 5
I feel
to
like
10
he's going to go down
as,
and I've already started to see it happen as Larry Fitzgerald kind of the next era. And not that it was completely different eras, but I do think that he's going to pile up a ton of yards by the end of his career without ever being a dominant dude. And maybe he ends higher ranked, but I think
he's not as good as Larry.
Yeah, he's not. I'm just saying, for this era, he might be someone who ends with sheer a ton of yards, and then without ever being regarded. And then people are like, "Why didn't we ever regard him as that? We got to put him up there." But anyway, I disagree with this take just because of the touchdown production, in the red zone and consistently making plays down the field. He's just so dominant. Even though Moore, I think, has the opportunity to pass him eventually here with his skill set. I just don't think that Moore has done enough on the I don't know, not yet.
Not the red zone guy that Evans is. I think it's really close, and we'll see what DJ does. But DJ Moore has also been held back significantly by his quarterbacks. It's not even just that he has worse quarterbacks. He has Teddy Bridgewater, Kyle Allen, and Cam Newton with no shoulder.
Even when Mike Evans had Jameis, like Jameis was like, he was still good enough to throw 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns.
Like picks, but
yeah, he's still good enough to throw 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns.
I think it's very close. I think it's very close, and that might not be a bad take this year. I wonder how many targets Mike Evans actually gets versus DJ Moore. I wonder if DJ Moore ends up with more targets.
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it is close. On my NFL 100 players list, I had Evans above DJ Moore. So I can't change my mind on that just because this guy brought it up. But I think that DJ Moore is underrated. I did put him in my top 100 list. Like I think DJ Moore is that guy on that list.
He's like 100 or something, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Like he's on the list. Like he definitely deserves like consideration as an elite wide receiver. I think it's just I think that Evans is dominant enough at the catch point and fast enough. And I love those deep threats like DK, Evans, both of those guys. I think
you do love those deep threats. I love route runners.
There's nothing more valuable than a guy who can just get 50 yards just like that. And Evans is one of those guys. So I would have Evans above him. I don't know. Matt and Blaiden, who'd you put above who?
DJ Moore will have a better year this year.
That's fair. I think, Theo, you're probably right to take Evans over Moore. I don't know. I just feel like I don't love those contested catch guys as much as you do. It's like I love guys who are really good route runners, guys who create separation.
That 1,000 yard season every single year stat is
1,003
because he's had like 1,001.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if he had like one less catch,
it's still cool. I don't care.
It's still cool. Alternatively,
it looks cool, but
if you look up Devontae Adams, he has like a 997 and like a 998, and I think he has one more high 900 yard season.
I'm literally like,
I know it's an arbitrary number, but it's still cool.
Arbitrary.
It's still cool to say.
It's cool,
but it's wrong. Every single NFL wide receiver is shooting for that as their goal.
It's like you're shooting for it, but it's arbitrary. It doesn't like carry that much weight. I'm just saying. But moving on to the third email. Also, I lied. We have 4 emails, not 3. But third email. Yo, it's Evan from Louisiana. My take is Dak Prescott will win MVP this year. You all saw the crazy inflated stats he was putting up last year before injury, like 450 yards a game. Although they were down every game due to horrible defense, so all games were shootouts or he put up garbage yards at the end. Although Cowboys tried to build up defense in the draft, the first picks were defensive players. I still think he will put up crazy yards like last year with all of his weapons, with the extra game. I'm thinking he hits 5,000 yards with 44 to 48 touchdowns. If the Cowboys win 12-ish games, those stats are enough to win MVP. It's a perfect storyline too, comeback player of the year and an MVP on America's team.
I think it's a great take.
That's the best take by like a wide margin. For him
is you saw how bad the Cowboys were last year without him. So if he comes back and they're all of a sudden a 12-win team, it's going to be, look what Dak did. He's going to put up crazy numbers. He's on my fantasy team, so it's got to be good for him. He was quarterback 1 last year before he got hurt. I think he'll put up stupid numbers. The defense is bad. I think
the weapons are awesome. The weapons are awesome.
It's a perfect. And you're totally right.
My prediction is the Cowboys go 12-5. My prediction is the Cowboys go 12-5.
I think it's a great take.
I think it's a good take too. And here, I've shared this multiple times before, but 2019 Dak Prescott and 2017 Tom Brady put up almost the exact same numbers. In 2017 Brady won MVP. Right? Like this dude, and then obviously you saw the start that he got off to last year, and still early last year, I heard people be like, Dalton is just that was such a big narrative that Dalton could step in and do the things Dak does. That you heard that everywhere, and people kind of forget about it now. That was like if you ran an Instagram poll that said like, should Dalton start over Dak? It probably would have been like 60-40. Like
it would have been close.
It would have been close. Like this was a very, very common.
I remember that, Theo. I remember that because people were definitely like, "Oh yeah, no."
Bought into that narrative.
They're like, their offense will be totally fine. I'm like, no, it won't.
Into that narrative. Yes, it was a common thing. So Dak consistently gets slander, and then like last year should have shut everyone up. And another thing is like, oh, they just don't win. They're the Cowboys. They blow it every year. They always have high expectations. There's not a lot of teams since they've drafted Dak that have more wins than the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, he was a 1 seed his rookie year. They've made the playoffs more times since. Like he's had some playoff success here, or he's gotten. So I think a lot of the narratives around Dak Prescott is bad. I think all we've seen over the last 2 years is Dak putting up massive production. Like, yeah.
And he plays for a big market. He hasn't won one yet. There's so much going his way.
And he's a nice guy. People like him. Yeah. I would still say
20-1.
Yeah, no, Dak's a really good sleeper MVP pick. Yeah. Again, he's not my straight up pick, but it's a great hot take.
I have two sleepers for MVP. Dak's one of them, so I like that. I like that take a lot. And then we have one more email. Let's see if he can top Evan's amazing take. This is from Jackson. He says, Josh Jacobs will lose his starting job. After the Raiders had a full fire sale on their offensive line, Josh Jacobs is going to average 3 yards per carry at most. Kenyon Drake is a much better fit for the Raiders' rushing scheme and is going to take over within the first few weeks. Josh Jacobs was averaging less than 4 yards per carry despite one of the better offensive lines in the league. This team also has no passing game, so when defenses start stacking the box and Jacobs' production goes down, I guarantee you Gruden gets impatient with his starter and is going to make a change. Now that this offense has a more elusive back in their scheme, Josh Jacobs will be hitting the bench. Theo, Josh Jacobs is on your fantasy team. How does this make you feel?
Fantasy team. You can't say that.
Look, I already said that I maybe should not have taken him in round 2, but I think that this is overblown. We saw him in training camp, and I thought he looked like the best player out there. He had a wheel route. He had a big catch there. He looked like a really good blocker. He's coming in.
Kenyon Drake also looked like a really good blocker. So let's.
I don't know. I feel like Josh Jacobs is not going to get benched. I think that he's still a good running back. He put up 12 touchdowns last year and over 1,000 rushing yards, and you didn't do it incredibly efficiently. But I just don't know. Maybe they dislike him and that's why they got Kenyon Drake, but I just think that's just bad team building, and they didn't do that with as much of an agenda or a plan as people think they did because they're the Raiders. And
I was about to say the Raiders don't do a lot of things with an agenda or a plan. So
no, I think they just liked Kenyon Drake more than they hated Josh Jacobs. I didn't think that was like I don't know. I disagree with this take. I think that I am betting on a more of a return to rookie Josh Jacobs more than him heading to the bench.
Yeah, I don't think he gets benched. I mean, maybe he does. I mean, Kenyon Drake looked,
I don't think
decent in camp, but like,
but I also don't think his situation got a whole lot better from last year.
Yeah, if you want to say that Jacobs underperforms, I can get behind that. But getting benched,
3 yards a carry, that's tough to believe. I can't lie.
Like you'd have to be so unbelievably bad to average 3 yards a carry. I don't care who your O-line is. But we have one more voicemail, and then we're going to get into our hot takes. So, the final voicemail.
Hey guys, my name's Ryan Kelly. I'm from Buffalo, living in West Michigan now. My hot take is that Tom Brady is the most overrated quarterback in the league and has been washed for 2 years. Everyone pretty much knows that the 2019-20 season was probably the worst year of his career. He got carried by his defense to the playoffs and then lost in the first round. So I don't really need to say much about that. But as for this past year, I know he won the Super Bowl, but I feel like that was mostly because of his team, not as much him. He had the best wide receiver core in the league, a top 5 O-line, a top 8 defense. Out of all the defenses that he scored 26-plus points on in the regular season, only one of them was an above-average defense, and that was the Packers. The last 4 games of the season, when they won 4 straight, he beat the Vikings, the 29th ranked defense, the Lions, the worst defense in the league, and the Falcons twice, the 19th ranked defense. I also think his playoff run was overrated. They barely snuck by the worst team in the playoffs. In the wild card, the NFC Championship, he did not play well enough to win. He had 3 picks. And in the Super Bowl, I feel like if not at least 90% of the starting QBs in the league could have won that game. That's my take.
I don't think he's super far off base, but I would still disagree. I think he's bringing up good points. First of all, where I would disagree is Tom Brady played awesome in the NFC Championship game, or maybe not awesome.
Nah, he didn't play awesome. No, they were bad picks. They were bad.
No,
picks.
they weren't. No, they weren't bad.
Bro,
picks.
They were horrible picks.
All I saw, he had a perfect passer rating at halftime. They would be in like 3rd and 11, and he picked them up over and over and over again. He threw an arm punt to Jair. Evans dropped one for a pick. The 3-pick narrative in the NFC Championship game is a lot of like Brady haters being like, oh, 3 picks. The context behind how he played, I think, is a little bit different. I think he had a really solid game in that NFC Championship game. Again, he was perfect in the first half and made it.
I'll give you the first half was really good.
And really the second half for most of it. I mean, the 3 picks is obviously, but I think a lot of that were not on him. I think that he plays better than people give him credit for. He also played really good in the Washington game against one of the best defenses in the league. So
yeah,
I don't think it's fair to just be like, and he was washed in 2019. I thought it. He had a worst year of his career. He's 40 something. Like I was like, okay, so he's on a downward trend here. And to me, it makes sense to be like, did he go down and then up, or did he go down, go to a stacked team and then go up? But yeah, I don't think he's quite.
That's
washed.
I definitely think that like being on a stacked team helps a lot. Like no doubt. There's definitely people who have him a little bit too high, but I also wouldn't say that he's washed.
Yeah. I think he's still a top 10 quarterback.
But that defense stat was definitely interesting. I didn't know about that.
No, I think he brings up like, I think he supports the fact that Tom Brady is overrated in the eyes of many. I think that is true. I don't think he's a top 3 quarterback right now.
Yeah, I saw a video on this earlier today where he was basically saying the same thing. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, Brady's the 2nd best, 3rd best quarterback in the NFL. And I'm just like, yeah. That's not true.
Top 7 or 6 though, I think it's pretty clear that he's that.
I'll put him at 7. You know, that's usually right around where
I can't remember where I put him on my top 100 list. I think I went at like 5 or 6 or something. But I don't think he's washed, but I think that he is overrated in the eyes of many who just see that he won a ring and are like, number 1. He's number 1, 7th best player in the league. I wouldn't put him that quite high, but I wouldn't call him washed either.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad take. You know, if we're talking about hot takes, it's not a horrible take.
No,
it's just maybe a little overinflated. So now we're getting into the final segment where we give our hot takes for the NFL season. So basically, each of us are going to give 1, maybe 2 takes that we consider pretty bold for the upcoming season. Theo, do you want to start us off?
I'm going back to the Jaguars. They're surprisingly good. I don't know if I love this take, but it's one that I haven't talked about a ton. There's so many takes that I've talked about and even ones that I've agreed with on here that I've mentioned before. I don't want to say the same things over again. This is kind of one that I've talked about a little bit before, but again, I'm not a big Titans fan. I think they're the 2020 Vikings. I'm not a big Colts fan with the way that their offseason is going. They just seem to be stumbling into the season here. I'm not the world's biggest Urban Meyer fan. I'm not. But I still think that Trevor Lawrence, especially the way they looked in the last preseason game, he was really sharp. And it looked like they got some things figured out, like structurally with the coaching. I think Marvin Jones has a really strong season. You know, Chark, Chenault. They just got a guy, Tyron Johnson, that the Chargers cut kind of inexplicably. I think James Robinson is good. Like, again, I think that it's a pretty good situation in a pretty bad division. If I have a hot take, it's that, you know, Lawrence leads them to a better record than a lot are anticipating from the Jaguars. And I had them at like 7-10, which is like not a crazy.
I had them at 7-10 too. But that's
still a 6-win improvement and second in the division above the Colts for me. So that's probably still valid.
That was second. 7-10 was second in the division for you.
Yeah, I think that is a really weak division. I don't like the Titans.
I had the Colts going 8-9. I don't know.
So the Jaguars surprise people. The Jaguars surprise people is my hot take. That's a lukewarm take, I'm being told. Okay, you want to get let's get nuts then.
Theo,
okay, how about this? A lukewarm take. How about this? Trevor Lawrence is an MVP candidate year 1. All right, he's got the weapons. All right. He's got all these wide receivers that I just mentioned. He carries the Jaguars to the playoffs. And as a rookie, he proves that he's generational and he is in the MVP category. He's winning Rookie of the Year. He's winning MVP. He's putting up tons of numbers. He looks like 2017 Wentz right away. And that is the kind of season that he has immediately, just balling out. That's the hot take. Okay. They wanted it to be hotter. All right. Trevor Lawrence MVP. Book it.
All right. Matt, can you top Trevor Lawrence MVP? Hot take?
I mean, I kind of just had something that I've even talked about this before. It's really more of a fantasy take, I guess, but I think Jamaal Williams ends up with more carries than DeAndre Swift this year.
That's I think that, I kind of agree with you.
And so he's winning Offensive Player of the Year, Jamaal Williams.
Yeah, and I know that's bold because I do think DeAndre Swift is a more talented player, but this goes back kind of to what I said about the Rams and Henderson. The current Lions front office, or at least the current Lions coaching staff, did not pick Swift. They picked Jamaal Williams. That's who they went and got. On top of that, Swift is, he was injured last year. We don't even know if he's going to play week 1. And there's been so many comments about how they don't trust Swift to be, consistently in there, that I'm thinking that Williams can see equal carries to him. I really do.
No, I completely agree with you. I made a video about that and people called me crazy.
Again, DeAndre Swift, like if I was a coach, I don't think that's what was going to happen, but all the news has been negative for Swift, at least from what I've seen about him getting more carries than Williams.
No, I agree. I think they like Williams more.
I disagree, but I do see where you're coming from. I just think
it's got to be a hot take.
It is a hot. No. I just said Lawrence MVP.
This guy just said Lawrence MVP. I don't want to hear it from you.
I disagree, but
I do believe in the talent.
I think it's a good. I think it's a good, well thought out take. So yeah,
hot take.
Yeah, but I do believe in the talent of Swift.
Well, I can't beat Theo's hot take of Trevor Lawrence MVP. You can't top that. But I did mention earlier that I have 2 sleepers for MVP. One of them is Dak Prescott. You guys know my other one is Kyler Murray. Like, I'm gonna keep coming back to it because I think it's like a legitimate. I think he has a strong case.
I do not think that is a dark horse.
How is that not a dark horse?
Kyler Murray, not a dark horse for MVP.
How?
What do you think? What do you think his Vegas odds are right now? What do you?
We're talking Vegas odds and what the general public think are 2 different things.
I think Kyler Murray is like not a dark horse at all.
You don't think?
If he's top 5, he is currently.
Do you think?
Actually, no, that might be true.
I'm looking at it right now.
But I'm looking at Herbert, Wilson, Stafford, Jackson, Prescott, Brady, Allen, Rodgers, and Mahomes all have better odds than him.
I'm seeing completely different. I'm seeing him at 14-1.
Okay.
Not a hot take.
You know
what? Not hot enough.
Not hot enough. Do you want me to
say he's going to break the total yards record or something?
He'll have the greatest MVP season of all time. Honestly, that's not even that unreasonable. Here's the thing: Kyler Murray last year was so valuable to the Cardinals offense, and when he was hurt, that offense was not productive. They could not get stuff done.
1 second. Sorry, that was an ad.
Theo was just like watching TV this whole time.
It was my bad.
Dude, watching like
that was an ad. I looked at the MVP odds and some pop up came up and it started yelling.
Dude's out here watching The Office.
Sorry.
No, but Kyler Murray was super valuable to that offense last year when healthy, and if he can stay healthy this year, there is no reason to believe that with the weapons they have, a full offseason to work together with Cliff, they run a lot of hurry up. They're going to be able to run a lot of offense. And, you run more offense, more opportunities to get yards. Kyler Murray.
Yes.
Let's say unanimous MVP. That would
unanimous MVP. Minimum 55 total touchdowns.
Okay.
Minimum 5,500 total yards.
And what will the Cardinals record be? Undefeated? 20-0?
Well, on my original prediction, I had them at 11-6. But if Kyler plays that well, they'll win the division. They'll be like 15-2.
Yeah, this is one of
There we
those hot
go.
take segments that we will look back on, and it will not maybe. DeAndre Swift will have a breakout season. Trevor Lawrence will, like, I don't know, have a rough year, and then Kyler Murray, I don't know, like the Cardinals will finish last in that division, and we'll have to go back to this, and it won't be cute.
Well, each of us originally made our take like very lukewarm, and then we were like told
We're not
to
gonna
expand
it's
upon
no
it.
fun if I'm sitting here like Jamaal Williams will probably get like 50 more carries than you think he will, and then Theo's like the Jaguars might win 5 games, and you say, at 5th MVP odds, Kyler Murray is a decent bet. Like, we can't say that. So
Yeah, so that's
Turn it up a notch.
Yeah, had to turn it up a notch.
I enjoy it.
It was fun, but we're definitely going to
I'm
get.
sorry, I don't mean to like change the subject, but it's funny when our producer will be like, "This is great, guys, end the show." It's like we got to get out, you know. He's trying to get the show.
And it's like,
this
yeah,
has been fantastic. Please end it now.
Put me out of my misery.
Dude has to like listen to us for like an hour straight. He's like, I can't deal with this anymore. But that does wrap it up for us today. As always, tons and tons of content coming your way. The NFL season is finally starting. We're super excited. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You know, don't miss out on all the great content coming your way on all platforms. And as always, from Dunk Boy, Corn Boy, and Lemon Boy, we'll catch you on the flippity flop.